Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Reality Inc., the channel all about bringing you as much nerdy content as possible. Today for you, I've got the video a lot of people have been asking for, so I hope I do you justice and help you out enough. We are covering PvP. This isn't a super in-depth PvP video, but I am trying to give you as much pointers as I can to help you along the way. I'm going to cover strategies and certain kind of abilities you want. So for the different dragons you want good team combinations. So that sort of thing, and just show you a couple other tips that might be able to help you out. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I'm always trying to put out newer, better content and release a Dragon Village M video at least once a week. Got another video lined up for this week for 2, so that's a little better than normal, and hopefully I'll be able to get some more mobile game reviews for you guys in the future. I've got a couple that are ready to go for me to jump in there and do the reviews, so hopefully I can get those out starting probably next week, I think. Also, if you want to support me on Patreon, I'll have a link in the description below. If you go there and support me on Patreon, you can get featured in future videos, as well as have discussions with me on future videos that we'll be putting out. So, and I will probably soon be starting up a Discord channel, so that way you can talk with me about strategies or problems, or other people in the community, and we can all work through any kind of situation together, or just chat about the game, whatever suits you. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Alright, so if you're watching this, you're probably at that point where you want to start doing PvP, but you're not quite sure if you're ready to get that kind of commitment. Going in and playing against other players. Well, I'll go ahead and cover this on the right. So right here you'll have your current rank for where you're at, and so you can click reward info, and so at the end of the week, wherever you place in these different ranks is the reward that you will get. So right now I'm platinum grade 1. I usually finish somewhere in the diamonds. Here lately it's been grade 2 or grade 3, so hopefully I can get back in there again this time, because the rewards really start to jump up. Once you leave platinum, you go up to 10 and then 20 valor. I mean, that's some pretty nice stuff there. So that's what that tells you. And then your current rank, your current score, your win rate, all this kind of information is here. Also your weekly rewards, which I definitely recommend doing this. You can easily get this in a day. It'll recharge fast enough. I think you get about 1 point per hour. So if you wake up in the morning, do all of your matches, and then at that evening do them all again, then you'll unlock the entire week's rewards, and that's pretty awesome. So a little bit of gold, a mystery egg, some diamonds, always appreciated, and one of the coins for the slot machine game, which I've never really pulled anything that cool, even if all the free ones I've ever been rewarded, but I have got lots of diamonds. So lots of diamonds and lots of amethysts. So I'll take that. Alright, so getting in here. So strategy. So PvP works very fundamentally different than any other aspect in the game, right? So you're not clearing waves of enemies, so this isn't a kind of like a long-term battle. Typically your battles are a minute to 2 minutes long, and if it's longer than that, then it's kind of more of just a coin flip at that point, unless you're really just building for outlasting your opponent, which is a strategy. Not very common. It's not very foolproof, because once you start to go down, you go down quick. So instead of building for the long term, right? So you're not building with a bunch of healers and a bunch of tanks in mind, right? You're wanting to do as much damage out the gate as possible. So there are different ways to do that, essentially, to accomplish this. what I have here is kind of a very standard team of sorts. There are a few exceptions to this, particularly my Jet Dragon is not a good PvP contender, and I'll cover that in a bit. So I have foregone a tank. I've completely dropped the idea of using a tank in favor of a dragon that uses a zombie ability. So if you watched my video earlier this week, I covered the Water Wonder Dragon, and he has an ability that for when he dies, for 40 seconds he turns into a zombie, which means he doesn't take any more damage, and he'll just take all of the basic attacks from the enemy without dying. So if they do any kind of AoEs or anything like that, it still gets through. It just stops all the basic attacks. So essentially, my whole team is free from taking any more damage for the rest of the turn, aside from, you know, of course, skills and all that. So that's kind of where my healer comes into play here. Still working on getting a better in-game healer. The Smart Dragon, he's just so powered up from all the requirements in the beginning of the game that he's still technically my best healer. So I keep him around for when the enemy does AoE attacks and things like that. He can heal the back row. What I would recommend, though, is a healer that will not only heal, but can also do damage. So an attack-based healer. So it'll say that his healing skills basically scale off of his attack. Those are great options, and like every time they heal, they boost attack or they boost crit rate or crit damage. Those are really good options. Also, healers that as soon as one of your dragons dies, they'll instantly resurrect him with 30% health or more, depending on how high the skill is. So those sorts of dragons are super beneficial, a lot more than your tank-based healers, which is kind of what he is. He is all HP runes, HP percentage runes, all that. So he's not doing much damage, and he's just kind of sitting there, especially with my my tank here that doesn't need to be healed. He just survives because he's a zombie. So that's where I recommend kind of going about that route for your healers. I'm getting there with a few over here that specialize in those sorts of things I was just mentioning. Alright, moving on from there. A dragon that gives you mana restoration. So, either through a skill, where every time they hit an enemy, they trigger mana regeneration, or they just automatically refill mana. Or a dragon that has a passive that just every 20 seconds you get an extra 2 mana. Something like that. They're out there. What I've been really focusing on is the Gaudium dragons. I think that's how you say them. So the dark, and I was using the fire for a long time just because he was one of the first Nat 4s that I ever got, next to my Nat 5 here, and then the light dragon that you get in the beginning. I got the fire one as my first 4-star. So what he does is every time he gets a critical hit, he triggers double mana regeneration for, I think it's 20 seconds. So then your mana bar refills faster, and for PvP that is crucial because you're going to want to spam all of your attack skills as fast as possible right out the gate. So as soon as the match starts, you want to be throwing everything you got at your enemy. All your skills, you want to pop them as many as possible. And so getting mana restoration is kind of a key factor. You want to try to make sure that it's an attacker type. So, like the Dark Gaudium Dragon here, right? Every time he executes his skill, he enables the mana regeneration. He's also got some utility in there, as in passives and such, and removing beneficial effects. So, I switched out my fire type because he only applied the double mana regeneration on a critical hit. And then the dark one just does it every time he uses his skill. So until I get a dragon that has a passive ability of just every 20 seconds you get free mana, until I get something like that, he'll probably remain on the team. Also, going back to my tank here, well, who I'm using as a tank, he has the zombie ability also. His isn't 40 seconds like this guy up front, but his is, I believe it's 14 or 15 seconds. So, and that's another reason that he kind of outperforms my my fire Gaudium Dragon, because he has the zombie ability. So even though he's a Nat 4, when he dies, and he usually dies pretty early on, the zombie state kicks in, right? So that is the third important part to your team here that I would recommend. So you have some sort of tank that preferably can double as a DPS, because I've used other tanks like the my armor dragon over here, my fire armor dragon, and while yes, he is a solid tank, no pun intended, the AI, if he's on auto battle, will prioritize his skill sometimes just because he's a fire type and he might have advantage over someone. He doesn't do that much damage compared to my attacker types, but the computer will use up three mana just to use his skill, and then usually I'll lose because of it. In all honesty, I will probably lose because the AI will prioritize that. So what you kind of want is a team where at any point, if the AI chooses to use your skill on that particular dragon, you wouldn't feel bad for it. So that's kind of what I've built here in a way. Moving on from there, a good leader. So this is almost so my. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to talk. My Dark Gaudium, he's kind of my support for the team. So tank, healer, support. And I have a light Dark Nyx Dragon who is almost a support attack type. So he is my leader for this. So critical rate up by 31%. That is one of the main reasons I use him. Another reason I use him is because he's a light type. So light and dark types are definitely one of your strongest, because they're only weak to each other, but they're also strong against each other. Unlike your earth, your water, and your fire types, who have legitimate weaknesses to other types. So, you know, your fire opponents will be able to waste your earth ones, or you know, your earth can really mess up some water in return. But you know, so they have the triangle, and it goes in around, and they're always strong against someone or weak against someone. But your light and darks are never in that situation. Whoever they're weak against, they're also strong against. And everyone else, they're just neutral against. So all these other elements out there, that just doesn't play into effect. So I feel like that would be the better way. You could have a team, a very diverse team, and cover all elements. Or you could probably just build a team of light and darks and be in just as good, if not better, of a situation. So so he is a light type, and he's got a great leadership ability. So I recommend a dragon, including a dragon on your team that has a good leadership ability that can buff your entire team. So with my team, I'm trying to build it all heavy attackers here in a way. So having critical rate up is very, very good. So I don't have to run a bunch of critical rate up runes. Also with my tamer here, the same thing. Allies' critical rate is increased by 16% over here because of his skill. So in total, that is 47% on top of all the runes that my dragons already have. So their substats on the runes, or if they have critical rate runes on there, and whatever their innate, just natural critical rate percentage is. So usually I'm swinging 70 to 80% on just regular dragons, and then on my attack types, usually I go for the substats that have critical rate as a good substat, so they're almost always swinging at 100%. Also, he has an AoE attack. It does a lot of damage, and it is a 3-target line attack. So this is when PvP becomes a little bit interesting, because in normal fights, AoE is good. AoE is usually pretty solid. So if you're in story mode where you're fighting lots of hordes of enemies every turn, you know, every stage of the fight, then you want to clear out all those adds, right? And you don't want to pop a 3 mana cost attack and hit one enemy in those sorts of situations. However, in PvP, you do. So having him on here is almost a disadvantage for having such an AoE ability. However, I think 3 is still okay. I can't think of any 2 AoE attacks offhand, but he's still a pretty good contender to have on here. I wouldn't take him off just because of all the utility that he brings. So with the leadership ability, the AoE is pretty nice. He's got really good passives that do a lot of damage. Also, his skill reduces the target's defense, so whoever gets hit, their defense gets lowered, which is very beneficial. But that's what brings me on to my last dragon here that I have, and he is another AoE attacker, but his is for 4 targets. So what that means is he takes all that damage that he could be doing against one target and has to split it up among 4 targets. When you're playing in PvP, which has guaranteed healers pretty much on every team, and usually the way the formations are, you'll never actually hit 4 enemies, so you're already losing out on DPS because you can't actually line up 4 hits with him. And on top of that, you're spreading your damage so thin that the healer can just heal through that no problem. So I find that to be pretty discouraging. So what I would recommend in place of something like this is the one part of my team where I would recommend going a different route, having a good single target attack dragon. One that's been recommended to me a few times, and I've seen in PvP pretty often, and he's a pretty he's a pretty easy dragon to get a hold of, is the light Joker dragon. That's the fire type. Where is he? I know he's in here somewhere. Am I just overlooking him? Ah, there he is. Yeah. So his skill is a 3-cost mana, but it scales off of his attack. So you just put massive amounts of attack runes on him, and he just goes off with his just regular drag ability. It is a 3-cost, but it can almost completely delete a dragon right out the gate. So as soon as the match starts, before you really need to even heal or anything like that, you can just pop this guy and just put it on top of their healer and just delete their healer, okay? Or if they have an attacker that stuns a lot or something like that that you need to get off the board, you just go and just delete that character right then and there at the beginning of the fight. So, single target attackers over AoE attackers. And that kind of goes for everyone almost. If my leader had if I had a better option for a leader that still provided the same amount of support, I would probably go that route with another single attacker, just because they're so much more invaluable than an AoE. AoEs are cool and all, but typically you're going to win your PvP matches by taking out one dragon at a time. You just focus fire on one guy, and then once he's gone, you move to the next. And then once that one's gone, then you move to the next. Okay? So that's kind of how you're going to want to build your teams, okay? I hope that was helpful. And also, if you need help, there's always up here at the top left-hand corner, my picture is kind of hiding it. But there is the recommended formation button that you can always hit. Usually it just kind of throws in your most powerful monsters or dragons, but doesn't necessarily make good teams. So you can always just use that as kind of a guideline, but then I recommend changing it based on what you have. Also, that kind of goes how for your formations here you can choose from. I'm not even sure that they give you buffs like they do in other areas of the game. I think it's literally just the formation you want to use. And depending on what you have on your team composition, that might be a beneficial idea. So if you're running, say you're running the Water Wonder Dragon and the Dark Wonder Dragon, you might want to have them spread out on the front line. So like the battle formation down here, so that way they're both out front, or even the scattered formation, that sort of thing. But the way I have mine set up is everything goes into this one guy right off the bat. So that's just kind of how I prefer it, and it's been working pretty well so far. Also, down here in the bottom right is right above start battle is repeat battle. So I click that, especially early in the morning, like before I get ready to go to work and that sort of thing. I don't have time to burn all my energy from the night. I don't have time to go into my towers and burn all that energy, and then come over in here to burn all that energy and play these by hand. Even if I lose, which is why this is unchecked, I can just turn on the repeat battle. And so even if I lose, it'll just keep using all that energy, so that way I don't have to waste time. Yes, you might lose a couple matches and your rank might go down, but for every loss, it takes 2 losses for every win. So if you lose half of your matches and win half of your matches, you still come out ahead. So it just works out in your favor pretty much to always do the auto battles if you're short on time. If you got time and you're just playing the game, yeah, do them by hand for sure. You have a better chance of winning, especially if if you can aim your single target attacker. And so right out the gate, like I'm saying, you just wait till that hits 3 bars of mana, and then you go and just delete one of the enemy's dragons, rather than the AI taking over and the AI, I don't know, popping, my AoE skill there that, isn't all that bad. Like I said, you want to, if the AI ever takes control and they use a skill, you don't want to feel bad that they used it. Okay? So, but if you can play it by hand, then you just see a lot more beneficial results because of it. Okay? So that's it for that. Another thing I wanted to touch on, I think this might be the last thing here, but if you come back in here, you can look at the top teams in the game here. I'm not sure, it might go all the way up to 100. Yeah, it goes pretty far up in there. But you can look at what other people are playing, which is super cool. Look, here's someone else using the Light Darkness here, level 60. You can see what tamer people are using. So go through like the top 10. What tamer is the top 10 most tamer used? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Kathos, but you could always double check me. Also early in the week, it's super volatile, so it's always changing pretty rapidly. But towards the end of the week, it really levels out of who the top players are. You'll start to see a lot of repeat names in the top 10 there. But yeah, so you can come in here, you can see what they're using, and then you can come in here and look at their Colosseum team. So see what other people are using. Look who it is. The Light Clown Dragon, of course. He is a monster, and he's so easy to get. He is just a Nat 4. He's not anything too terribly crazy. I mean, he's relatively easy to get, I'm pretty sure. So, just something to focus in on there. If you see him in the store and you can, buy him for either the golden wings, or sometimes you can use diamonds to get them. Just buy the pieces, and so then you just need however many pieces it is to go to the market and basically just combine him, or it's underneath the combination, the fusion one, the relationship points, and get them through there. So definitely a dragon I recommend probably investing in, because as you can see, other people are using him. Got another Light Darkness, using him as the leader, of course, because that leadership is super good. So yeah, just come in here and look to see what people are using. I don't know what is going on with this. Yeah, that was weird. He probably has him as like a favorite or something like that. I thought that was his leader right there for his team, but looks like he's got the Light Alien Dragon there. It might be a healer, I think. You're gonna see a lot of limited dragons though that you can't exactly get, but I mean, there's a reason these guys are the top 10 uh, in the game, right? Just because of the fact that they have these dragons. Like, look at this guy. I think this guy, I see him every time at the top of the list. And, I mean, look at these guys. I'm pretty sure every one of those is a limited dragon. You can't compete with that. Those are what you would call a whale in the game, and they've spent a lot of money. This guy's got 103 power. That's almost twice what my team is. So, I mean, you can do what you can. At least just have goals, right? You don't have to be number one, first place, right? I mean, these guys are in the 60s. I'm at level 51. It took me, I think, 2 weeks to gain 1 level from 50 to 51. So it's slow going. So these guys that are in the 60s placing super high up here, it's understandable. They've been playing the game a lot longer than a lot of other people have. Okay, so you got to start small and then just work your way up. So again, look at the reward info, and you're just aiming to get up here. And if you can hit grade 3 diamond, awesome. If you can just consistently try to hit grade 3 and then just gradually work yourself up, you see what works, you see what doesn't, you see the team combinations. When you're on those auto battles, if you can, try to pay somewhat attention. Just look every minute or two to see what you're fighting against, see what's working, what's beating you, what's not beating you, what's getting just completely rolled over. Don't use that stuff. And whatever's kicking your butt, look at it a little more. That's one of the ways I learned about the Wonder Dragon, was just because I would kill him and he would stay on the battlefield. I'm like, what is this guy? I have to find out. This is such a great combo. And eventually I found out it was the Wonder Dragon, and so I got my own and started using him. And the second I started using him, I went from grade 3 platinum to grade 3 diamond. So just by switching out one dragon, and that was using him at like level 10 5-star with no runes, I jumped that much. So just using the right dragons can super benefit you. Alright, well, I hope that was beneficial for all of you. I hope I didn't drag on too long and you guys are still watching. Let me know what your team is, right? I'm interested. If you've got any cool PvP strategies, put them in the comments below. I will definitely read them, and I'll definitely reply to them and tell you what I think. So, I mean, maybe you got a better strategy than I do, and I would love to hear it, and maybe the other YouTube commenters would like to read it as well. So, if you think I was off the mark in any way, let me know that as well. I think overall my strategy is pretty solid, especially for beginners and even mid-range and even all the way to the end. If you go in and look at these teams here, they're going to kind of do what I'm doing already. So you're going to have your tanks, you're going to have your healer and your support, and then your DPS. Having a tank that can, once again, final note, having a tank that can do damage and not just sit there and just take hits, and when the AI uses his skill, you're banging your head against the table. Okay, so a DPS tank, a DPS healer, so that way when they're not healing, they're still doing something, which currently my healer is not. So DPS healer, a support that can build you mana faster. Okay, not just any regular support, I mean a support that can get you mana. Okay, so that way you can be popping off all of these skills faster. And if they can provide you other benefits such as stunning or removing beneficial effects, that is preferred. And then your fourth dragon, you want a good leadership dragon, so someone that can provide your entire team super good benefits. Okay, but they also need to have good utility, so don't just pick a dragon because of their leadership ability. Pick one that is half the reason you pick it, and then the other half is because of its other abilities. So like Light Darkness weakens enemies that it attacks with its skills as my other benefit that I get off of it. Okay, and he's just a solid attacker as is. He does probably the most damage out of everyone on my current team by far. So He does, I think, about 60% of the total damage out of 5 dragons. So, and then lastly is what I personally am also working on is you want a single target attacker, okay? One that you can just beef up with crazy runes to make them hit like a truck and kill a dragon with one skill, okay? Preferably make it a 3 mana cost skill, because those are going to be your highest damage skills to help you guarantee that instant KO just a few seconds into the fight, okay? So going into a fight 5 seconds in against 4 dragons against your 5 is a heck of a lot better than those long drawn out fights of 5v5, okay? And with that, I hope you liked the video. Please like the video. I do appreciate that when y'all do that. And subscribe to the channel so that way you can see more videos like this, so I can help you out as much as I can. And with that, we'll see you next time.